even then, I mean, people didn't all just go feral.
Yeah, the sudden thing.
Even then, back then,
Even
people
then,
didn't go feral.
yeah. Even then, they're not
If you
people.
want to know what Roger's talking about, you have to be a patron and get the pre-show. I'll be honest, I don't even know what he's talking about because I just sat down.
And he's a patron.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Rob Reed's going to join us in progress
okay.
if he gets done.
Right, let me see if I got the right window open.
Gave you control.
Come on, you stupid. Oh, there it goes. All right, hiding.
All right.
Hi.
Here we go.
Quality content thrives through the support of those who benefit from its creation. If you gain value from the Daily Tech News Show, consider joining others like me who provide support. Learn how to help at dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for, I don't know what day it is, Wednesday, June 28th, 2017. I'm Tom Barrett. Sorry, I lost my place in the document because I'm so excited. Scott Johnson is here.
Hey, I am here. I'm pretty excited too. There's two big things happening this week. One, I got my my Amazon Echo Show about 20 minutes before the show started.
I got mine too.
Well
actually.
done.
We didn't get them in time to try them out with each other yet, but we will do so soon.
Yeah, I think we should do a little video conference maybe after the show. But not only that, this weekend is Nerdtacular, which means after Tom's all sewn up and done, tomorrow morning he ends up here, and we have a big old convention with fans and friends and fun.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that as well. Well, let's get started with a few tech things you should know about. The Windows 10 Fall Creators Update will include Windows Defender Exploit Guard, which can control OS-wide mitigation capabilities at the app level to guard against things like malicious macros in Office or websites known to contain malware, similar to the retired Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit, or EMET, if you're familiar with that. The update is on track to include the application guard for Edge, expanded Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, and a few other things.
Did the last creators update go okay for you in terms of the...
Yeah. You know what? I've had pretty good luck with Windows these past couple of times. I've had bad luck in the past. I bricked a machine with Windows 98 back in the day, so I am familiar with the Windows pain. But yeah, so far so good with these.
Yeah, same. 10's been good for me. Well, Snapchat will now let U.S. users create and submit custom filters directly to the app. What's this? You don't have to approve anything. This is crazy. Rather than having to go through the studio's website. The studio's located in the app's settings under on-demand geo-filters, and they'll probably still have to approve them. But it's cool. You just go right through the app.
I hope that people do that for Nerdtacular.
Yeah, why not? Perfect timing, actually. This is not a bad idea.
Toshiba announced it has achieved quadruple-level cell memory in a 3D flash device. What that means to people who don't already understand what that means is cheaper, higher-capacity flash storage. Samples are shipping to vendors, but there's no timeline on consumer availability.
Oh, well, all right, then. I'm actually very interested in that. Google started rolling out its new sharing features to Google Photos on Wednesday. That's today, everybody. A sharing tab will now show up at the bottom of the app and suggest photos and people to share them with. Once you see that, you can also turn on automatic sharing. I was able to get an entire group of photos that I was looking for from somebody coming to Nerdtacular that I didn't have these photos, and this is how they did it today. So I'm thrilled about how it's working.
All right, here are some more top stories. Cybereason security researcher Amit Serper discovered that the NotPetya, or Petya, depending on who you ask, ransomware can be stopped before locking up a computer by placing a read-only file named perfc in the Windows folder. Pretty much just put an empty file there called perfc, but Bleeping Computer has full instructions, including a batch file if you need it. Meanwhile, German email provider Postio has shut down the email address used by the creators of NotPetya to confirm payments and provide unlock keys. And it may not matter, since Matt Suisse, founder of Kome, and Nicholas Weaver, a security researcher at the International Computer Science Institute, both believe NotPetya isn't ransomware at all. It's a wiper meant to destroy your data so you'd never get it back even if Postio hadn't shut down the email address. Talos Intelligence, the Ukrainian police, and several other research groups believe the NotPetya ransomware began spreading through a hacked update to a Ukrainian accounting system called Medoc. Talos points to a forged digital signature in the NotPetya payload that refers to Medoc, and Medoc itself denies the allegation. So there's where we are, not as spreading as fast as WannaCry. It is showing up in places outside of Ukraine. It's showing up in more places in the U.S., but not spreading as far, relatively speaking.
So somebody told me today via email that asked me if I had heard about this. I said, yeah, I've sort of been following it and stuff. And he had heard about this fix by creating this perfc file in the Windows directory. And their concern was, why would I believe them and make another file on my computer? I don't know what it does. And it got me to thinking it's just about this broader problem of ransomware and other stuff. And in this case, sounds like it's just there to destroy your data, not actually get money out of you, or they're just never going to, do their end of the deal and give you your data back. But we are definitely entering that strange new place where now we're going to have to start having reliable voices, and people who aren't necessarily as tech savvy as others, who aren't paying attention to this all the time, or already have established sources of good information on what to do, when to do it, how not to do it. It's going to get harder for a while, I think, because who knows who you're supposed to trust until you are in a position where you have to trust them.
Yeah, and that is the problem. Is this is perfectly safe to put a blank file that you name anything on your hard drive, right? You could put perfc. You can do that even if you don't. Where you can do it on Mac OS if you want, but it does sound like the kind of thing that people say, oh, you just do this one simple thing, it's perfectly fine, and then you end up getting yourself in trouble. So if you don't know enough to know that it can't be misused, I mean, it's kind of progress in a way that we're getting to the point where we can actually say to people, oh, you know enough to be skeptical, right?
Yeah, it's going to get a little uncomfortable for a while. It's a nice throwback though to your Windows Update topic at the end of the top of the show. At the OS level, seeing Microsoft as a trusted source, the people who make your operating system, doing things on a more meta level with protection is a good thing for people. So careful, everyone. Don't get weird. Google unveiled a new design for Google News. All right. So this has been a long time coming as far as I'm concerned. It's something I use every day. It now has 3 sections: a top headlines list, a local list, and a for you list. That's going to be based on areas of interest that you select. So if you select entertainment or video games or whatever it is, that's what you're going to get. The news also has a card-based interface now. A fact-checking bar also now appears on the right side of the desktop version. Pretty big changes for the Google News app and website.
I mean, yes, on paper, the way you just described them, it sounds like, big changes to the design, makes it easier to read. I'll be honest, I use Google News every day. Didn't even notice.
Really?
Because these address things that I didn't have problems with. So they're all in the margins in the periphery. I only look at the main section. So I kind of noticed the card separation now. But it really, that was not something that had ever bothered me in the past. Want to welcome into the show now, Rob Reed. Yes. Thank you for joining us. You're here because you and I are working on a project.
We are indeed, and I am beaming in from 5 feet away.
Yes, exactly.
But I got delayed with my own project upstairs, so I wasn't able to be here at the start, and I apologize for that.
Oh, no apology necessary. My apologies for not having a studio capable of having you on camera at the moment. But Rob, do you use Google News a lot?
It's funny, just hearing that description, I immediately feel like, thank goodness Google News is roughly where my Yahoo was in 1996 with the News for You thing. I've never understood. It's great that they're doing this stuff. I do use it from time to time. I've never found it to be as useful as my Yahoo's original incarnation, which is far more useful than my Yahoo's current incarnation. I fired my Yahoo myself about 7 years ago when they improved it to the point that it was unusable. But yeah, I think it's nice that they're doing that. My main news source, I'm really old school. I spend a huge amount of time on the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal sites. And then I spend a huge amount of time on TechMeme. Because I think TechMeme is a great aggregation. The Times and the Journal are coming from the left and the right. Feels like pretty good balance. I go to Google News when there's really something breaking that hasn't yet made it on one of my main pages.
Yeah, I use Google News simply to see what's bubbling up in the algorithm. So I don't really care what the interface looks like. And I thought about my Yahoo, the classic my Yahoo that I had worked so hard to tune perfectly. Scott, did you use my Yahoo back in the day?
I did for a while.
Oh, good. So we can all be 3 old men remembering my Yahoo.
Hi, Gemini.
Totally. But what's funny is this is the interesting thing about the Google thing. They're known for taking their algorithmic back end and always applying it to things and saying, hey, you might like this because we've learned this about you because of your browsing habits or because of whatever. Your emails are saying this or whatever. And that's been both a point of argument and also, it's kind of makes things convenient when you're using Google. And it's interesting that the news bit has never really had that until now.
Yeah. It's so weird because others have been literally doing this for 20 years.
It was Google's hubris of our algorithm will always serve you better than you could serve yourself.
Yes.
That's finally starting to, in small doses recede here and there.
Yeah.
A company called Token has just introduced its first product called the Token Ring. I will pause now for system administrators to make their inevitable jokes about LANs and token rings, which I assume Token must have foresaw and done on purpose. The ring has a built-in fingerprint sensor. So you use your fingerprint to activate it. You put it on your finger. There's an optical sensor, so if you take it off your finger, it automatically turns itself off. It's waterproof, I think up to 50 meters, so pretty darn waterproof. Battery supposedly lasts 2 weeks between charges, and it pairs with an app on Android, iOS, Windows 10, and Mac OS, so you can set it up with anything that uses NFC. So it can operate as a payment card, your house keys, your car keys, a transit card, and like I said, anything that uses NFC, starting at $249 for order now, shipping in December.
That sounds like a like a universal remote kind of approach that they're taking to this, because obviously they want to have as many devices that use NFC as possible using it. I have to admit though, when Tom told me about this article earlier today, we were talking in pre-show prep stuff. I thought you really meant Token Ring like the network protocol.
Yeah.
And so in my head, I'm like, wait, I buy things with, so I'm imagining.
You're like, I'm not that interested in that. Yeah.
It's kind of a bad branding decision for that very reason.
Well, except among people who know what Token Ring is.
It's a lot of your tech forward people who would be who will either choose or not choose to be early adopters, you know? And so I don't know. I mean, it's
actually kind of a brilliant name. Like Token Ring's a great name. It's a token, it's a ring, token to let you into things. Like it's kind of brilliant. And then they're probably thinking, oh, yeah, and it also harkens back. All our tech friends will remember.
We love puns.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just saying, maybe it's too much because I know I can't be the only one that heard this or heard you say Token Ring, and their first thought was, we're bringing that back. And then now they understand. And maybe
I've got to push back on the tokenness of it. It's a ring. Yes, you put it on your finger. Yeah. That's a ring. I grew up in the New York area. To me, a token is this little round thing that you throw in the subway turnstile.
But you can use it as your transit pass.
I guess
so. It replaces the token.
It replaces the token, but the token's long since been.
It does way more than that
in that scenario.
I wonder if it started as that, as somebody who's like, let's replace subway tokens with a ring, and then they're like, oh well, we could also do payments
like
and
Metro cards. Yeah.
For all of these valid criticisms, I love it, and I want it to work. I don't know if I want to pay $249 to find out if it works.
I want it to work, and what I really want it to work with is with my computer. What I want is to be able to go to websites and be able to touch my token ring, and as much as I can touch, the thumbprint thing on my iOS phone.
Yeah.
And identify that yes, it's me. Not have to memorize piles of passwords. Not have to manage credit card. All that kind of stuff. I think something that interfaces, because it's so hard to interface with the broad world. I mean, you think about the throw weight that Apple has as the most valuable company in the world with the ubiquity of the iPhones, and it's astounding how few cash registers still take it. It's really hard to get things out there and get them widely accepted. And, they're inching out there, but slowly. But man, we're all dealing with passwords and payments and things on our computers constantly. And I think if they could fix that as a starting point, that's what would get me in one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before I tell you about the Canadians, I will say one thing. If you're a young couple getting married soon, get matching token rings. You'll spend less money on those than real rings, and you can pay for stuff. So there you go.
You can pair them.
The Canadian Supreme Court has upheld a ruling. What are they called? This CSCOTUS, whatever they are. Held up a ruling requiring Google to remove a company's website from global search results. That company. So, yeah, there you go. That's right. The company that was removed had been sued for re-enabling products from, I'm not going to say this name right, Ecustech. Maybe I did.
Equistech, yeah, but
There you go.
relabeling is,
And,
is actually what they were doing.
Relabeling, excuse me, and passing them off as their own. Google had divested the offending site from the Canadian.
Delisted.
Did I say divesting? I sure
Yeah.
did. Someone has a big.
But you nailed Equistech. I'm just gonna
I
say.
nailed it. The offending site from its Canadian search engine, but argued removing it globally violated freedom of expression. Justice Rosalie Abella wrote, "We have not to date accepted that that freedom of expression requires the facilitation of the unlawful sale of goods." Music Canada welcomed the decision as a way to help enforce copyright.
Yeah, so there's a couple of significant things going on here. One, Canadian Supreme Court said, no, Google, you have to remove it globally. Our law is going to affect the rest of the world.
We have jurisdiction over Rwanda.
Essentially. Another thing is that they said, and you have to understand, is the violating company fled British Columbia. They're still operating somewhere. Nobody actually apparently knows where, but they're outside of Canada now. So they disappeared, and that's why they put these orders into place, saying people can still go online and order from these people, and we want to stop them because they're just relabeling our stuff. And then third is that Music Canada likes this because, wow, now there's a precedent for saying, hey, this is a copyright violation in Canada. Take it down worldwide. We now turn to author of Year Zero, Rob Reed.
Well, it sounds like some sort of distortion of the right to be forgotten, right?
Oh, they're comparing it to that. They compared it to that in the case.
They're comparing it to that. Well, there's this enforcement thing. And so if Canada wants to declare worldwide domain over its ability to dictate the conduct of companies and individuals outside the borders of Canada, I'm sure if they're able to enforce that with the Canadian military, we will have no choice but to comply. But there's been many of these cases. There was one case, and in a lot of cases, you got to say, well, it comes from a good place. I think it was Belgium decided that they had global ability to impose rules on any kind of human rights violation, and they found against a country that was thousands of miles away. And it's kind of a silly exercise unless you plan to go out and enforce this everywhere.
Well,
right?
Here's the one way Google can respond is to say, great, there's no more Google in Canada. We've done it in China.
Yeah.
There will no longer be a Google for Canada at all. No Google.com, no Google UK, nothing. Now that's the nuclear option for Google, and I'm sure that's not their first choice, and they'd rather avoid that. But that could be a response of like, no, we won't remove it globally, so we'll just block all of our services from showing up in Canada.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Both Uber and Lyft did something like that in Austin, where they did something that seemed kind of like cutting your nose off to spite your face, but it turns out Austin caved and let them back in. Now, China never let Google back in, and that's a ginormous market. But if Google had the temerity to do that with a market as vast and as valuable as China, I'd imagine if push came to shove, they would do something like that. And the overwhelming majority of Canadian citizens would probably concur that it's more in their interest that they continue to get access to Google than that this one little issue be settled in favor in the manner that the Canadian government would like. Although it is odd because Google does seem to not go too far out of their way to aid and abet things that are I mean, they're very anti-spam, of course. There's got to be something deeper here. They must see some utility to the site or some kind of weakness of the Canadian government's argument to be this obstinate.
They don't want to set the precedent that when Canada asks for something to be removed from Google Canada, they'll have to defend it everywhere.
Yeah, because the next thing you know, it's Google Luxembourg.
Yeah, exactly.
The hard part is Google half the reason that we love the internet is because we can be anywhere and get to anything. And we're starting to see that butt up against globalism, anti-globalism. And I'm not saying that's what this case is, but you're starting to see those cases crop up more and more, and it's probably going to be an issue moving forward. But it's unfortunate. The whole power of the internet is I'm here, you're in Japan, and we're talking, and we have files, and we can get to the same stuff, and it's beautiful. And I'm always sad when it's not beautiful.
We've had so many needs to harmonize laws across borders when other technologies come along. Maybe this is another case that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I believe the right to be forgotten folks in Europe are now trying to force Google to take things out of U.S. results.
Because, it's in the French Supreme Court right now.
Exactly, yeah.
So we'll see. Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day without having to wait, you just said, look, I only got 5 minutes today. I feel bad about it, but I can only listen to 5 minutes worth of podcasts. Go get Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com and keep yourself up to date. You can also get it on the Amazon Echo as a flash briefing and on the Anchor app at anchor.fm. Okay, at Mobile World Congress Shanghai, Qualcomm demonstrated its ultrasonic-based under-display fingerprint sensor on a prototype Vivo X Play 6 smartphone. So everybody's headline says, Vivo beats Apple to under fingerprint. It's a prototype, and it's Qualcomm doing it. But the system uses the lower third of the screen as a fingerprint reader. And they say we could do the whole screen. It would just be more expensive. It seems to work at this point slower than current button-based fingerprint sensors, but keep in mind this is early technology and it's a prototype. The sensor can see past dirt and sweat. It can sense blood flow, so you could use it directly as a heart rate monitor without having to touch the flash like you do in some. And it'll even work underwater. Synaptics also has an under-glass fingerprint sensor you may realize that they're working on, and it's of course rumored that there will be an under-glass fingerprint sensor in the next iPhone. Qualcomm also unveiled the Snapdragon Wear 1200 for wearables, which includes an LTE modem. Another thing is that this not only works through glass, but it also works through aluminum as well.
Oh. So my aluminum gloves will be good then. We're all set.
Yeah, your aluminum gloves will be fine. No need to change those. And also, you'll be able to put the fingerprint sensor flush behind the back. You won't have to have a bump. You could just make a big swath of the back of an aluminum back be a sensor.
Oh, a giant one.
Yeah.
So you're just clutching your phone.
Like just the middle third or something. Could be.
So it will work through sweat and dirt. Did it say anything about the slightly melted residue of a Twix bar on the press release?
Well, it talked about cooking, which is a big deal for me because whenever I'm cooking, I wash my hands and then I try to open my phone because it went to sleep and I have a recipe on it and then it won't open anymore. So
Got it.
I would assume it would work through Twix.
Good. Twix is important. And the other thing is I'm really delighted to hear that it works underwater. Because scuba divers rejoice, right? I mean, nothing is worse than having to type in on your waterproof phone
with your aluminum gloves.
Yeah. Now, so I'm glad they're working on underwater. Does it work in the vacuum of space?
I think it would already work in the vacuum of space, but it's the gloves that are the problem.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Now, the underwater seems a little silly. It seems like a corner case to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's more of a selling point that the device itself can, do everything.
Well, there's more and more phones that are billing themselves as being able to be used underwater. So I guess this is them getting ahead of that. It doesn't seem like there's a big use case yet.
Not a huge underwater population talking on the phone.
That we know of. That has been discovered.
That we know of.
There's so much of the ocean left to be explored, but yes, up to this point.
Does this whole thing still feel a little bit like half steps toward the ultimate, which will be just grab my phone and it knows me? Not having to push a special little place or make sure I'm not wearing gloves or make sure I don't have dirty fingers, but just this phone has been mapped to my DNA and it just knows me. I mean, that feels like the ultimate in this, and we're just making baby steps toward that to me.
Yeah, I think that is one of the effects this could have, which would be the magical thing that people are looking for, which is I don't have to think about a sensor. I don't have to touch a certain thing. I don't have to think, am I touching the camera or the sensor on the back of my Nexus 5X? You just pick up the phone, and even if it's a little slower, the act of picking up the phone will start to sense your fingerprints before you can even think about it. That would be great.
And I got to say, I recently did a 2-year jump in iPhone. And so I guess I skipped the 6S's or something like that. And I was pretty blown away by how much more sensitive and how much less of a hassle it is to open with my thumbprint.
Yeah.
So I think these baby steps do add up. And I mean, the fact that it could be a third of the case and it can be on the back and it can just be a very passive thing, that does actually feel like a pretty big step forward. But I'm still pissed off about the underwater thing. I think that's senseless. I think it's because years ago, and I'm obviously still bitter about this, I bought a swatch that said water resist 50 meters. And I was in Singapore and it was a humid day and it died because of the humidity. There was water. I was like, what?
Well, no, you didn't take it literally. You should have submerged it 50 meters and then it would have been fine.
Right. It's like, well, it's 50 meters underwater.
You're above water.
It would have been safe from the humidity.
No guarantee.
Yes, it would have been safe from the humidity. So I retain skepticism about this all these years later.
Yeah. I kind of feel like the waterproof thing may be an unintended side effect where they realized, hey, this actually works underwater too. Might as well add that to the list of features then.
What could possibly go wrong? We won't get mocked on podcasts for this.
Not by Rob Reed, author of Year Zero, After On, and founder of Rhapsody. Never. Yeah, so I feel like all three of us are like, yes, we would like this. This sounds like a useful feature for the most part.
Yeah, I think it'd be a step forward.
I mean, the aluminum pass-through aluminum thing has other opportunities that I hadn't really considered, and it doesn't even have to be in the mobile market or phones. But if you've got ID-based, let's say a car or whatever else, and you need to kind of hide the sensor and not just have it be below glass or visible or whatever, this thing could be really hidden behind a handle, embedded in some actual aluminum, and still function the way it's supposed to. Like, that's really awesome and convenient, and also just feels like it's not going to break off or snap. Or one of the things I like about the current iPhone sensor is it's not really being depressed, so you don't have all of this button action. Same thing with the new MacBook, not the Airs, but the straight up MacBooks. Those click pads are not really clicking, it's all haptic feedback, and that's already a step in the right direction. So I'm all about this idea of these things being embedded, out of the way, not mechanical, hidden from view otherwise.
And I want biometrics everywhere. I mean, getting into cars, getting to my front door. I mean, if I wouldn't have to carry keys around, just one more item to lose, one less item to grab and take with me. I love anything that moves this stuff forward.
I would like a little more security on them. I would like them to be less spoofable, because you can't change your biometrics.
Yeah, somebody could cut your thumb off and then use that. I think that was actually a plot point in an old Kurt Vonnegut book.
Well, or even less than cutting off your thumb, which, yes, I don't want that.
You do not.
But also, like, taking a picture of you and then being able to put a lens over it to fool the Galaxy sensor into thinking it's looking at a 3D face, even though it's not. That's been stuff like that gets shown. And then, like, once that's been breached, it's like, well, I can't change my face. So
no. Okay, got it. Yeah, that is bad.
Well, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Got some messages of the day. Yesterday, Patrick and I talked about how in iOS 11 Beta 2, a blue bar will now show up anytime an app that is set to always use your location is actually using your location. So Ryan reported in and said, the only app that I noticed unexpectedly triggering the blue bar repeatedly was the Google app. I was so annoyed that I assumed it was a beta bug and uninstalled Google app, since I don't really use it often anyways. Not sure if that's the intended effect. Also, I believe, though I can't prove, that Apple's own apps may be immune to the blue bar policy, because I guess what he's saying is none of the Apple apps that use location ever showed up. Maybe they're just not set to always, though.
Well, maybe Apple Map is like, no, I don't need it. I don't need it.
Yeah, Apple Maps, what you would think would use it. I mean,
it only shows up when an app is using it that's not active in the foreground. And is set to always use location even if it's not active. So Apple Maps presumably shouldn't be tracking you when you're not actually using the app.
Well, Google likes that location data. I can tell you that.
Yeah, they sure do. From Chris, as to why Portland will always be a nerdy city, the City of Portland Twitter account tweeted at 0:51 p.m. on Monday, June 26th, a picture of some graffiti that says FTP with the quote, "To whomever tagged this on the Esplanade, this is irresponsible and unsafe advice. One should only use SFTP when transferring files. #SSL.
Yeah, someone needs to tell Ice-T that, because I think it actually means something very different.
Yes, it does. But I absolutely adore the City of Portland's official Twitter account runner having the presence of mind and freedom to make a security joke.
And before you get emails, it's Cube, not T. I realize that, folks. Sorry, I misspoke.
And I love the anthropomorphization, if that's a word, of a city. It's like Portland tweeted that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
at
Portland.
City of Portland.
Look what somebody spray painted on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a joke about this.
That would be the only way this could be better, is if someone said, it's irresponsible to spray paint this on me, the City of Portland.
That would be funny. I did not want a tattoo there.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Mom next week.
But points to Scott for getting the FTP, the actual, it's probably most likely intended FTP.
You could just put Sirius for S, and you still got a pretty good rap there.
And it's secure.
Yeah.
Everybody wins. John Bacus Jr. wrote in and said, yesterday, Patrick said, You can't not use Facebook. Now, John gets a little pedantic here, but I think he makes a good point. He said, sigh. I deleted my personal account 4.5 years ago. I do not believe that my life has been negatively impacted by that decision. I'm an application developer. I'm online a large portion of the day. I use Google+, Twitter, and Google News to keep up on world events. To a lesser extent, I use them for their social aspects as well. Over the years, I've lived in 4 cities, including one outside the U.S. I still communicate with friends from all of these places and have actually seen a good number of them in the past year. I stay in touch primarily through WhatsApp. Oh, using a Facebook company there. But also Skype, Hangouts, LinkedIn, Slack, SMS, phone calls, Twitter DMs, Facebook Messenger. Facebook Messenger is used with my mobile number only, and since I do not have a Facebook account tied to it, it does not count in their monthly active users numbers on Facebook.com. Honestly, I could drop Facebook Messenger and contact those 5 people other ways, so living without it has no negative impact on me. Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram use is counted separately from Facebook.com. At least a few of our guests, I believe Shannon Morse, over the years have said they do not use Facebook. I also know a handful of friends and family that do not have accounts. They seem to be quite functional in society without it. Note, I do have a Facebook account for business use only. I use it about 1 hour every few months to test a bot my client has developed. I do not consider this using Facebook.
Wow. It sounds like refraining from Facebook use is a perhaps full-time job.
He kind of, yes. I mean, I get what John's saying is when you say you can't not use Facebook, it's not literally true. You certainly can. Lots of people don't even use the internet and get along in society. But the caveats and length he has to go to shows, I think, Patrick's point, which is it's really difficult to avoid it.
Yeah, it sounds it.
Do you know, Scott, anybody that doesn't use Facebook that you think like, oh, they're missing out, or they should, or you're surprised?
Well, I definitely have had moments where, I mean, I don't use Facebook to its fullest extent, but I use it enough for a few things. And I've had friends where I'm like, well, the best way for me to get with that guy would be if he had Facebook. And now I find out he doesn't and he hates it. But I'm having a hard time getting past the irony of something here. Back when Slack was sort of new and was introduced around us as a kind of a community, Patrick was the least excited to try this new thing and felt like he could absolutely live without Slack. So it's ironic. I think it basically just comes down to what is working for people. And if using Facebook means that you can get more done and it's not a negative impact on your life, then I don't see any problem with using Facebook. I don't think there should be any sort of these weird sort of brand alliances where I refuse, I put my flag in the ground. I will never use Facebook on principles. If you are, I need to know what those principles are. And if
and the point Patrick was making was, yeah, they have 2 billion users because it's really hard not to use Facebook. Now, granted, what he said was you can't not use Facebook, but I think he was exagerating to make the point.
Yeah, I barely use it, frankly. I mean, I get on it. It's probably less than once a month that I get on it. I mean, I get notifications from it, then I'll respond to them. But yeah, I think you can push it to the far periphery of your life and still be pretty engaged in the world.
And that may be its greatest use. Like seriously, having it there as a thing that's there.
Yeah.
If I need to let my mom and my 2 aunts know of something or whatever the use case is, having it be there for 2 billion people is maybe its job, and that's it. And you just don't have to use it all the time. So I actually really like the way you said that, because I think that's kind of my use case.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you certainly can make a point of not using it, but again, I think the point is it's a lot easier for a lot of people to just use it because that's where the people they need to get in touch with are. Because 2 billion people are using it every month. So even folks like Rob and me, I don't use it that often either, maybe once a month now. Actually, I use it once a week. You know what? I just Rob Beckus to myself. I'm like, maybe I use it once a month for personal things, but I use it every week for Daily Tech News Show because we have a page there. So, yeah, that's the point, though, is that even when you're saying I don't use it, you're using it more than you think you use it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode of Daily Tech News Show. Scott Johnson, thank you as always. I'm looking so forward to seeing you at Nerdtacular this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be great. 10-year anniversary. We got all kinds of cool stuff planned. Can't wait to see everybody there. If you're going, just make sure you come up and talk, because that's the whole point of this thing, is talking to each other and hanging out and appreciating fans for all you guys do. So very much looking forward to it. A reminder that Tom will be doing an edition of the Daily Tech News Show on Friday. In the afternoon. I want to say 1:30 is our time.
It's right there in the rundown. If you look down a couple of times, it is going to be at 3:30 Eastern, 19:30 UTC if you want to watch live.
Yeah, and he'll be in front of a crowd doing that, which I'm totally looking forward to. And lots of other good stuff being live streamed all weekend. So make sure you catch that live. And for the rest of what's going on there, you can catch it live at frogpants.com/TV. And thanks for having me on. It's always good to be here. I'm glad Rob stopped by as well. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad this worked out. And Rob and I, of course, are working on a project together to support your new book, After On.
We are indeed. So the book comes out in just a few weeks on August 1st. But we are going to be releasing major chunks of it on a yet undesignated site starting on July 10th. And in conjunction with both of these things, with the general release,
just be by FTP, but probably not.
Maybe not.
It'll probably be something better.
Probably
than that.
something better than that. Yes, a yet unidentified site that I'm pretty confident everybody who watches and listens to your show is fully aware of. So we got some excerpts coming out, and in conjunction with those excerpts, and also ongoing for several weeks after the release of the book, you and I, Tom. As I'm telling you this as if you don't know it. You and I, Tom, in case you're wondering what I'm doing here, we'll be releasing a series of 8 podcasts that go deep into the science and technological and also sociological issues that are explored by the book. And it's been really fun putting these 8 podcasts together because, unlike you, I have not hosted 3,000 podcasts before. These are my first 8. And the backbone are long interviews with luminaries in relevant areas of the technologies that we're talking about. And augmented reality, quantum computing, synthetic biology, nihilistic terrorism, all kinds of interesting topics we're going to tackle in those 8 episodes, and I'm real excited.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a regular listener to Daily Tech News Show, you're going to want to read After On because stories you've heard covered here turn into drivers of the story, and then you're going to want to listen to this podcast because we dive deep into what's behind those ideas. So.
Yeah, the book is set exactly 9 seconds into the future. And since that's so closely into the future, it means you have to read it pretty quickly because otherwise it's going to be in the past before you're done. And it is 547 pages long, so good luck reading that in 9 seconds. But it is very, very present tense. And yeah, issues that are on Daily Tech News Show all the time are plot drivers.
Yeah. So go check that out at after-on.com and keep an eye out for that to-be-announced soon site. Also, big thanks to everybody who gives a little value back to this show for the value they get from it, including Chris Jeffrey, Melissa Johnson, Morgan French Stagg, and many, many more at patreon.com/DTNS. As Scott noted, this Friday's episode 1 hour early if you're going to be watching it online live. It'll be at 3:30 Eastern, 19:30 UTC this Friday. Tomorrow, I will not be on the show. Rich Stroffolino will be hosting instead. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 20:30 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. We're at facebook.com/dailytechnewsshow, and our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Rich Stroffolino with guest Keith Townsend tomorrow. They'll talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
All right.
Well done.
Good show.
Yeah.
And I got in pretty close to on
Okay,
time.
yeah, no, I have to give Rob Reed props here because as soon as he came down, I had realized that I had not set up a speaker so he could hear. He was able to root through my bag of danger, find the adapter for the headphone splitter, find headphones, bring me the splitter, and get it working so that we could have him hear what Scott was saying. It was pretty impressive.
That was cool, and I was really glad to be present for probably 85% of it.
Oh yeah, the majority of the show.
Yeah,
I think you only missed one story, really.
Yeah.
Right, titles?
Yeah, what are we going to call this?
All right, we got 3 old men remembering Yahoo News.
Or my Yahoo.
The one token ring to rule them all.
Right.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm beaming in from 5 feet away. Canada claims copyright supremacy. Qualcomm likes fingerprints on screens. It's going to get harder for a while.
Out of context.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Will it
Google
work through
sings Blame
Twix?
Canada. I like that one. Oh, Canada. I like that one. From Stoic Squirrel.
And it's Canada Day on Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, Canada.
Shouldn't we honor the fact that it's your birthday, Tom?
We should. Why didn't we do more of that?
Tom's birthday edition.
No kidding.
All right, Tom, it's your birthday. You pick.
Oh, and it's your show.
No, but that's the whole reason we've got Showbot.tv, and I make you guys talk about them is I don't want to have to pick.
What were the top three again? There were some
Well, there
good
was
ones
the
in
one
there.
on the voting. It's the one token ring to rule them all.
That's
3 old
pretty good.
remembering my Yahoo, and I'm beaming in from 5 feet away.
I kind of like the token ring to rule them all.
There's also one ring to pair them all from AJC. A different spin on it.
I think that's even
That's not
better.
bad. One ring to pair them all.
Yeah?
I think that's even better. Yeah.
That's your birthday present to me. You
All right.
Pick the title.
And that helps with the confusion over token ring a little bit.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it does.
Putting pair.
Token ring. I remember those.
Okay. Now I've got that in my head. I have the national anthem of Canada stuck in my head.
You are going to screw my search results. How will they enforce their legal? I don't know.
Keep going.
Legal. Wait, legal decision.
Morgan and I go to New York Rangers games all the time in New York City, and there's a lot of Canadian teams in the NHL, and so you get that damn song.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because it's probably 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 games you go to, it's a Canadian team, and it's like, oh God, there's something very infecting about that song. It always.
Well, we were talking about it yesterday, and Roger, you pointed out it's what? Who's the?
I think it's like based off an old Mozart.
Like it's taken from
I mean,
Mozart?
like Mozart is all.
Huh.
So it's all basic. From what I've learned about the national anthems, a lot of them are just based on existing songs. Like no one really goes through and pays for someone to come up with an all original jingle.
Well, there's so few opportunities as well. I guess the most recent one was East Timor. So it would have been kind of exciting to just show up there. It's a small country. They were new. They had their mind on a
then
lot
you
of
have
things.
clearance issues.
Well,
You
no,
have-
like,
always
I'm going
change
to write
it. I
your
mean-
national anthem. That would be pretty badass. Like, how many people can say they've done that?
Yeah.
Elton John can't say that. You know.
Well, he should write
Bono.
one and then petition for the Queen to see if it can make it. Like it's not unheard of to change a national song or flag or
Yeah, not unheard of, but it's pretty. It's a bit of a lift, and the older and more venerable the song, the tougher it's going to be.
I remember in the early '90s, late '80s, people wanted to replace the current U.S. national anthem with America the Beautiful, because it was just easier to sing.
I kind of remember that. Yeah, because
It's like, it's just too hard to sing that one note.
well, it's a drinking song apparently.
See, and that's what I was just about to say. Like, we can't change it. I love that our nation's national anthem is based on a drinking song.
It'd be so funny to time travel and go back to some pub in 1729 or something, years before the country was founded, and when it was just sort of like the equivalent of My Sharona of its era. Like, oh, everybody knows that song.
What
you
if
go into
we-
a pub and they're singing it.
The Sons. I've wanted to learn the Sons of
original-
Anacreon, that's
Oh, is that the title? Is that
something
the
like that?
original
I'm probably
title?
not saying it right, but yeah, it's all about being Greek and drinking.
I'm all for my Sharona being the new.
Well,
That
why
would
don't
be,
we? This is just
Is
this
the
just
NAC
adds.
American though, or the U.S.?
Yeah, I believe the NAC
Okay,
are.
all right.
They're not
Canadian,
products.
secret
Yeah. Don't you remember
Canadians.
how minor our trade imbalances were in the 70s? It was because of the NAC primarily.
Yeah.
They were our biggest export for a while.
What if? I mean, wouldn't it just gives greater impetus to like establish colonies so we can have just new national or colonial anthems? I guess at that point,
Oh.
I want something based on AC/DC's "Highway to Hell."
Well, you can release a colony and allow them to become independent, and
Right.
that's basically where new countries come from. I always thought it was a stork, but apparently that's how it's done. And so Puerto Rico's applying for statehood at this
Two
point.
old countries love each other
Yes,
very much.
very much. They go in a very private place, and Puerto Rico's applying to be a state. Maybe there's a compromise where, like, well, we're not going to make you a state, but you get to be a country. You get a flag, a UN seat, and a national anthem.
Well,
they
they
have a
already get a
flag.
flag. They already
They already
have
got a
their own
flag,
flag,
They already got a flag.
and they
I
get
was
to
just gonna
compete
look up
in
and
the
see if they have
Olympics
an
as their own country.
There's,
And they also
I
get
think,
to compete
yeah.
in this universe as their own country.
National anthem of Puerto Rico.
National? Ooh,
Huh.
that's sacrilegious. It should be
Ah.
the territorial anthem.
Aquí o himno nacional de Puerto Rico.
Whoa. Jeez, Tom.
Sounds like the beginning of a movie.
Oh, what if they made it
Here, I'll
a
pass it
Ricky
through.
Valens song, La Bamba?
It looks a lot like the Texas flag, doesn't it?
Puerto Rico's doing
Yeah. Oh, good luck singing that.
Oh, the
I'll
Puerto
have-
Rican flag is very much like the Cuban flag, which is
I'll have the plantains.
those are
Just
all
makes me
those,
think I'll be at a restaurant.
It's a karaoke kind of song. Like,
Yeah, I think it's
that
the
would be a great
recording.
thing to get
Yeah.
really good at that song in karaoke, and then like surprise people by singing it.
They would be very
no
surprised
one would
because
be
they wouldn't
surprised,
recognize
though,
it.
because they know what you were singing.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, it's the Puerto
The
Rican."
one
national
Puerto
anthem.
Rican who knows it. I generally spend July 4th going around singing "God Save the Queen." So
The Sex Pistols version or the other one?
I'll do both. Yeah.
He'll alternate.
God save our.
Rob,
great-
speaking of flags that look like the Texas flag is the flag of Chile.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Except for the one little square in the lower left corner of
I
color.
wonder if Texas has got like territorial expansion ambitions with all those flags out there. Just like, well, there's not a lot of flag resewing.
I mean,
that has
first
to
of
go
all,
on.
they're hoping to retake Oklahoma any day now.
Yes, I know.
Well, wasn't it
They're
Oklahoma,
massing on the border, aren't they?
Kansas? Was it also New Mexico carved out of Texas?
Yeah, big chunk of New Mexico, some of Colorado.
Parts of, I think even California.
No,
Did
not
it go
that
all the way to
far.
California?
Maybe not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we
The Bear Republic will fight back. If that
Indeed.
for the one day we were a republic.
You were born at. You're a native California. You're the only native Californian
Yes.
on this panel.
I know. That's why I know who Huell Hauser is.
That's true. That you do know that.
So how many states
that
are not
is.
officially states? You've got Texas as a republic, right?
I mean, they're all states.
Well, of course, but just like
but used to
Massachusetts is a
be-
commonwealth. Virginia's a commonwealth.
I mean, Texas is now a state.
Yeah, that's right. It is not, but California does call themselves republic.
Only on the flag.
Yeah, but
It's the state of California
yeah,
officially.
yeah.
But Virginia and Massachusetts both commonwealths. They are
yeah.
not states.
Does Louisiana give itself a weird name because it's got those strange laws?
Because it's got parishes instead of counties.
Parishes and
Yeah.
Napoleonic
No, they're a
law.
state. They got a. Although for a while
Duchy.
they
Do we have any duchies?
The Grand Duchy. That would be somewhere up north, like the Grand Duchy of New Hampshire or
The
something
Duchy
like
of
that.
Maine.
Yeah.
Well, there are a bunch of islands out in the Pacific that aren't states.
Oh, that's true. We've got those
Guam.
overseas.
Well, not states. They're territories.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only state out there is Hawaii. But we got Guam, Marshall Islands, Samoa.
American Samoa. There's two Samoas.
Yeah, there are two Samoas, just like British and American Virgin Islands. Let's not get territorially overly aggressive and claim
Isn't
them
there
all.
something with, it might be Samoa, where they are a republic, but then a dependency? Like they're not Commonwealth. They're not
No,
territory. They're not a territory.
Well,
technically.
Samoa is its own country. American Samoa is U.S. territory.
Well, no, but I mean, I think American Samoa has a different status than territory somehow.
Is
Like,
anything
technically.
like an officially declared anarchy? Is there any country that matches that?
Yeah.
Sealand. Well,
If it's
Somalia
anarchy,
de
how would
facto.
they declare,
not
how would they
officially.
declare themselves officially?
Yeah.
There are a couple places that are. I mean, there's some pretty. There's a couple countries that are effectively ungoverned. I mean, Somalia was effectively completely ungoverned for over 10 years. I mean, there's sort of like the beginnings of a skeletal government there now, but there was a period of over a decade where there was absolutely no government whatsoever.
Well, what if you have a country that didn't have like a functioning parliament for a while? Didn't Belgium go through without having a stable government?
Yeah, and you've got a lot of that. I mean, technically, Uber's going through that right now in their country, right? They have 14 vice presidents and no president, nobody in line.
Well,
for the
Ken from
presidency.
Chicago says in the chat room that American Samoa citizens are U.S. nationals, and that's what sucks is that they got shortchanged because they can still come to the U.S., but they need to apply for U.S. citizenship to get the rest of it, which basically means they get to vote.
They're an unincorporated territory, and they have a constitution of their own and their own president.
Do they have a seat at the
Oh,
UN?
I'm sorry, governor. Sorry, not president.
Probably
They,
no UN seat.
Unless you're thinking of Micronesia and a few other countries that are just like a compact, what they call a compact of a free association.
What's the deal with Puerto Rico? Maybe I'm thinking of Puerto Rico.
It's a territory.
Puerto Rico was a territory that was taken during the Spanish-American War, as well as Cuba. And for the longest time, there was an independence movement, but also a state movement. And for I think up until recently, it was like 25% for statehood, 25% for independence, and 50% for leaving it the way it is.
There is something that we colloquially refer to as a territory that is not technically a territory.
District of Columbia?
Well,
Alaska.
Yeah, that's not what I was thinking of.
So also, yeah, that there was a
Not
very
Alaska,
violent
it's a
separatist movement in the 70s called the FLN to turn Puerto Rico into an independent nation. And it was really, if you read the history of the various violent movements of the 1960s, it's the one that nobody ever really cracked. To this day, scholars and crime enforcers and other folks who would be interested to know who is actually in that thing and running it, it's the most mysterious. They pretty much know everybody who was in the Weather Underground and inside the SLA, inside all these other groups, Black Liberation Army, but the FLN remains quite a mystery to this day. And they carried out some bombings that killed people in New York City. Francis Tavern bombing, a couple others, in case anybody wanted to know that. And I did not get that from Wikipedia. I just know this stuff.
I guess I was just thinking of the fact that Puerto Rico has a president and is a republic, and the president of the United States is its head of state, not its head of government.
And there's odd things like Australia. It's got Queen Elizabeth on the money because it is a Commonwealth dependency.
It's part of the Commonwealth, but it is its own republic. It's not a republic.
It's sovereign.
She is their monarch.
She is their head of
not,
state. Yeah,
they're not associated.
And that's the important thing. In Australia, she's the Queen of Australia.
Yeah,
she's not like the Queen of Britain.
Yeah, it's a functionally independent country, but there are some legal ramifications because I was spent a lot of time there. In the very early 90s, my girlfriend at the time was Australian, and
yours
there
too
was a movement for
republicanism.
Yeah, to become a republic, and there were reasons for it. It wasn't just stripping her face off of the money. There were reasons. There were some advantages.
It's because back in the late 60s, was it Whitlam or whatever?
Gough Whitlam, yeah.
Essentially, wasn't there like there was not a campaign, but there was an election, and the person that won wasn't cemented by the Governor General, who represents the Queen in such matters. A lot of people were kind of turfed that it was considered undemocratic.
Who can name the one country whose head of state has been dead since 1991?
North Korea.
Yes, nicely done.
All right, I'll take other questions. I'll take other post-show questions for $800.
Although, not quibbling with your question, but do they actually consider him dead, or is he
they do. Yeah.
transcended? Like, is there some redefined like he's beyond the mortal coil, but eternal or something?
They get, as a sovereign nation, they get to designate their head of state.
Oh, sure.
They do not get to designate whether or not he's dead.
No,
Therefore,
I know that. But I'm just saying, do they say he's dead?
I think they do. I think they're.
Okay.
I don't think there's a state religion. I think they're as communists, they're atheists, etc. But yes, he is very much the head of state there.
Literally, he's like they have a giant carving of his head
it's like
in the
Futurama.
countryside.
All right. I think I have legitimately and successfully posted this episode of Daily Tech News Show, possibly without screwing it up.
All right.
Nicely done.
Now you got to run for the airport.
Oh, do you fly out?
Oh, wait, no, that's tomorrow. You fly out tomorrow. Right? Yeah, you fly out tomorrow. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you said too much. Too good of a thing.
I think I screwed it up.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I have to check this. I think I may have started uploading it to SoundCloud before it was done.
Oh, well, as long as it was up and not, even if it wasn't processed, it's still up. And it should have given you a warning if you close that tab if it wasn't.
Yeah, because it says 31 minutes. See, I'm glad I checked. It
Yeah.
says 31 minutes. And it's not 31 minutes, 34 minutes. All right. Let's see if that does it. Man, I hate it when I screw stuff up. Somebody's going to get a 31-minute file is what this means, unfortunately.
We're all horribly disappointed in you.
I know. I can tell. You're so quiet. Tom,
Very
just sit there and think about what you've done.
Very upset about what's happened here.
All right. Okay, it's re-uploading. So carry on.
Other head of state facts? Anybody?
Yes. Any other head of state facts?
Who was the first
George Washington.
openly gay head of or leader of a country?
God, I got it right both times. First openly.
I think he was just elected in Ireland.
Well, there was a lesbian running Iceland about 4 years ago. So that's recent. I mean, but I don't know if there was somebody prior to that.
I was just thinking because Ireland had its elections and they
had the TSEC.
Yeah.
Right. No, there was a lesbian premier of Iceland up until about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I knew there was somewhere something. Where was the first fully orange leader?
Trump.
Don't answer that. Tom hates it when I talk politics on here. But you're correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Name 7 presidents who had hooks for hands.
None of them. They used to have to pass a physical back in the day.
7 presidents who had hooks for hands.
Name the first president of the government of the independent United States of America.
So that would have been continental. That would have been under the Articles of Confederation.
Yes.
Somebody Lee, right?
John Hanson.
Oh, well, there you go. That's not somebody Lee.
He was a very handsome man.
John Lee.
Maybe.
Johnny Lee.
Which 2 presidents were father-son?
First was John Adams and John Quincy Adams.
Yep.
Woo!
Not FDR and Theodore.
No.
Yeah.
And not John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon.
No?
It turns out no. No.
There was another father set later. Who was that?
That was George Bush and Bush Jr.
Your sense for history is unparalleled.
Name the first president not to fit in a bathtub.
U.S. Grant.
Oh, Taft. Don't make fun
Taft,
of
right? Taft, yeah.
I still think we should make it a rule that he invented taffy.
First U.S. president to have a golden bidet.
Trump.
Yep, correct. Ding, ding, ding.
I mean, do we know that for certain, though? Are you sure?
No, we don't know for sure.
Wait, does he use bidets?
Dude, you should see. There's great
use.
photos of him
Said
pointing.
have.
Yeah.
Name the first thing that you know about President Franklin Pierce.
He was on MASH.
No. Different Franklin Pierce.
He was named after Ben Franklin. I don't know.
That his name is Franklin Pierce. That's literally all I know.
Who was the first president to die in office?
Oh. Washington, Adams, Jefferson,
hold on, I know this.
Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison.
Monroe. No?
Not Monroe.
Huh?
No.
I was about to say Polk. But
Harrison.
Harrison?
Am I right?
Harrison, the first, Captain Jack 913 said Harrison died.
Do you not know the answer, Roger, or are you just asking?
No, I'm just asking.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd looked it up.
I don't know the 7 presidents with hooks for hands.
I think it's William Henry Harrison. Who also had a hook for a hand, if I remember correctly.
He died from acute gastroenteritis. Eat some bad oysters.
All right, I'm going to work on getting this up. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please enjoy tomorrow's show with Rich Stroffolino guest hosting, and I'll see you from Nerdtacular.
Yay.